Join our podcast conversations as we share ideas, insights, and information that will educate, inform, and inspire. We will blend our knowledge of online safety and emotional awareness to help you have a better understanding of your kids' online world and their emotional responses and well being.
Hey, Sara Westbrook.
Hey, Paul David.
How you doing?
This is so nice to be reunited.
Absolutely.
And today we're talking about online shopping, separating wants and needs. This is a big one. Because
It
when you
is.
get online, it can be a rabbit hole of goodies that your brain tells you, I want it and I need it.
But do you really need it? And so what's really great
That's
about
what we're
this
going to dive
podcast,
into.
so not only are we going to talk about that, which I think you are going to address brilliantly, but the want part of it actually comes at a cost with our kids with the technology that they're using because of this want. So this is going to go down two different paths. The want versus need, but then we talk about that want and how they're using the technology to get something they really don't probably need in their life, but what they're giving away in return for that want. So,
Oh, I like it. See, I was thinking this was for us parents because we're overbuying online.
no, this is for everyone, but what I
Yes,
want parents to focus on as well is the kids. Because, and I've,
absolutely.
parents reach out to me with all kinds of stories. So many kids are using their parents' credit card to say, I'm just going to buy this product. It's only $15. It has free shipping.
Oh,
Do you know how many parents will say, okay, go ahead? And they don't know the platforms that they're giving their credit card out to. And wait a minute, but how did this product come to our home in 10 days from halfway around the world with free shipping? And that's where they fall into this trap. And then some of these platforms, these apps, are acting like social media platforms where there's a component of stay on as much as possible to earn credits for more of the stuff that you want, but you don't actually need. So this is going to be good.
yes. No, this is going to be helpful for us as parents, like you were saying, and then us personally. Because I do think when we're talking about wants and needs, there can be a conflict because emotionally you want it. And if you think about being a child, you think about being a preteen, a teen,
Mhm.
your brain's not fully mature till you're in between 25 and 28 years old. So that emotional reaction that we see with kids, maybe it's having a tantrum, we see pushing back. So picture that emotion with online shopping.
Right.
So it would be very easy to go from, oh, I feel like I really want this, but I also need it, because then we get comparison brain.
Mhm.
So comparison brain is, oh, well, they have it. Everyone else has it. I also want it, but I must need it because they have it. So see how the lines start getting blurred because we have this emotional reaction, especially
Mhm.
in the immature brains, which that's not disrespectful. I'm talking about anyone under the age of 25, 28 years old, right? Because the frontal lobe of their brain that does all of that executive thinking is not fully mature till that age.
Correct.
So then the emotional part is going, of course, yes, I want that. And then the I need it, I think, very much comes in when you see everyone else has it, or
Right.
you want to be the first to have it and you saw someone on social media that has it.
Right.
Because if I have it, then I'm going to be happy. This is how
Right.
your brain can trick you very easily. So we're going to unpack a lot of different goodies here.
So I'll give you an example, and it's interesting we're doing this podcast today is because I'm going to give you a perfect example of a need in my life. My dog
Okay,
is
we're going to get deep now, everybody. Get
we
ready
are.
for
My
Paul.
dog is itching like crazy and it's scratching. And we have been racking our heads over what is going on. After a lot of online researching, asking questions, we found a product that, based on everything we've read, is going to help my dog not scratch as much, um, Smell better because it licks itself a lot because of the scratching and all that. And so, based on all the research, we found a product that we absolutely need. Not now, we needed this yesterday. So, today, went online, found it, made the purchase, didn't think twice because that is a need in my family's life right now. Having said that, as you are scrolling through the needs, you are given
Mm-hmm.
suggestions where people will say, oh, you know what? Maybe I want, no, I don't fall for that. I look, I purchase, I remove myself. Because then what happens is, depending on the platform that you're on, a suggestion pops up. You're scrolling and they say, well, other people have purchased this. And now they're saying, oh, you know what? That would be a nice to have. Yeah, I could use, no, no, no. You don't need that. You want that because apparently other people are using it because apparently they've purchased it. Then there's the other side. You're scrolling through
And that
social,
one right there would be FOMO, fear of missing out,
right?
right?
Because
Everyone
everybody
else
else,
has it.
right? And then the other side of it is they're on social media. And they will look at what is social media looks at what is trending. And based on what is
Mhm,
trending, advertisers will bring in product. So now the student or the adult is scrolling saying, oh, cool, cool, cool. What happens? Magically, an ad pops up for what they've just been looking at. They actually don't have a need for it. They now fall into the I want it. But the
mhm,
platforms that are offering this to fulfill that desire are the ones that concern me from a privacy perspective. And that can be a different podcast. So now they're using these platforms, and I'll even mention two of them, Temu and AliExpress, which are organizations found halfway around the world which sell product into Canada ridiculously cheap, inexpensive. They get them to your home within days. And people think, okay, this is great. So I just saw that. I really don't need it, but I can't say no at that price. That is an amazing price. It's only going to cost me $15, $20. My mom will give me the credit card. I'll make that purchase. It'll be here. I'll be happy. What they don't understand, and we're not going to get into in this podcast, is that those platforms which are fulfilling that want now have your first name, last name, address, credit card number, your email address, phone, all that stuff. And you are now going to be inundated with more of the stuff that you don't need in your life, but want in your life. And you'll be tempted to purchase other stuff that you absolutely don't need. So when it comes to
mhm,
online shopping, you need to know where you're purchasing, but is where you're purchasing going to provide you with the need? Are they reputable? Are they credible? Or is it the want who's trying to scoop all this information from you, build a database on you, and then use that to continue to throw stuff at you that you absolutely don't need? Oh, but it's cute. Oh, my friends have it. Everybody else is talking about it. And then what happens? It goes in the garbage. But what did it cost you? It cost you your personal data. And so that one side, which I know you'll expand on differently, for me equals a risk associated with the data you give away to fulfill your want because it was inexpensive, it was quick shipping. So when I look at the need, it's something that I've gone online for, have purposely researched, and have made an acquisition from a reputable company
mhm.
because it's fulfilling something I need in my home versus something that, yeah, I was bored, I saw it, I thought it was cool, it's really inexpensive, so I'm going to order it. So that's where I'm coming from.
S So then do you think that there's too much trust? So let's just break down what you said. So, I'm hearing we're trusting
Mhm.
and we're talking about young people, but also
Mhm.
adults are trusting the site.
Yep.
And
Sarah, when
then
I'm in a
and we're also
presentation,
trusting yes.
when I'm in a presentation and I'm talking to kids about not ordering from certain platforms, I will mention the platforms. And do you know the teachers sitting off to the side are looking at each other because they fell into the same trap? So this is not a student thing only. Adults are
Yeah,
looking at each other saying, what did he just say? Because I was just, and they've walked up to me saying, wait a minute, we're in the staff room. We just talked about this amazing deal that we found and we purchased
right.
some of this. Yeah, because it's not just a kid thing. It's an emotional driven thing, which is you're looking at something saying, wonderful deal to my home in less than a couple of days, and then you trust it. So the trust factor impacts
So there's
every age
that.
group.
Absolutely. And I think too, if we look at the marketing behind a lot of these sites, it's really well done because they're
Awesome.
going after that. Okay, it's inexpensive, it's quick. Okay, so now you've got convenience right there,
Hmm.
right? So you marry convenience with the comfort of I'm just doing it at home and it's coming right to I mean, you've nailed so many things that human beings want in their life,
Right.
convenience, comfort, plus the next best thing. It's like you let's take an iPhone for an example.
Hmm.
Let's take a phone. I'm going to say iPhone just because I have an iPhone.
Okay.
Mine works completely fine.
Hmm.
My son says to me, "Mom, you need a new iPhone. Yours is old." I said, "Kai, my iPhone works just fine. Well, it doesn't take as good of pictures." I'm like, "Oh, where'd you hear that?" Well, the commercial says it. All right. So mine's an iPhone 10 or 11. I think it's no, it's an 11.
Okay.
And I mean, they got the 15 out now, the 16. I don't know. The 25 is out probably next week. And so so there could be this that moment where I could be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't actually need a new iPhone because mine works and it
Hmm.
does take good pictures and it's working, but maybe I want a new one." I mean, I
Right.
got my 12-year-old saying I should get but that's where the marketing really hits is especially young people. Uh, but in all people, you looking at to have to really say, okay, it's okay if I want a new iPhone, but I don't need it. So if I do still want it, it's not a need for me. Let me be logical about it. Let me think about it. Let me budget for it. Let me actually review it, like you said. Where then that's not an impulse. I no, I'm just gonna go for it. It's I'm actually thinking about, okay, I don't need it, but I do really want it. So let me think logically about it
Right.
and think also the safety part of it. Where am I ordering it from? Can I afford it? Because I think that's another thing. We can easily just start racking up. I mean, that could be another podcast right there. But it's easy just to keep racking up the dollars with things you don't actually need. Because needs are, do I need groceries? Do I need to pay the bill? Do I need to, like you said, help my dog because it's itching so much I need to get this ointment for it.
Hmm.
And I think being mindful is a key component to all of this. Is instead of just clicking right away, stop, take a breath, take a piece of paper and walk away from the screen, walk away from the purchase and sit with it. I remember, Paul, that when I'd be in the grocery store or actually, no, this is more clothing store scenario. So I'd be in the clothing store with my mom. I can remember specific times. Say I'm 14 years old, right? Have a little side job. I was also working at a dinner theater, making some money. And I'd say to my mom, "Oh, I really love that sweater." And she'd be like, "Oh, you want that sweater?" I'm like, "Yeah, I need it. No, I need that sweater." Like as if I had no other sweater. I
Right.
need that sweater. So then my mom would be like, "You need that sweater?" I'm like, "Yeah, I absolutely need that sweater." Say, "Okay, you pay for it with your own money." Oh, I no longer needed the sweater.
Of course not.
That right away took it as a want. So, but that's actually a good scenario that you know, if you if I had to spend my own money on it as a kid, I was like, ugh, I double thought it, triple thought it. So if we bring that awareness into these moments of quick purchasing, that mindfulness could really help with, is it a want? Is it a need? If it's a want, there's probably tons of emotions around it. It's an emotional base. It's I'm afraid of missing out, or I think it's going to bring me so much happiness. How many times, though, to the listeners, have you purchased something and you felt happy for a bit? You're like, "Oh my goodness, this color brings out my eyes. This just looks so comfortable." And who here has worn it a couple of times and literally forgot about it, or it ends up in your donation pile? Because I guarantee some of us have tags on something that you've donated.
I'm in that category because when I was
See, there
younger,
we go.
I did the exact same thing. In fact, when I'm at a grocery store, the longer the lineup is for me to check out, the lesser I purchase because I will literally stare at my cart and say, I didn't come here for that. I came here for that. Why did I add that? Because I wanted it. But you know what? Yeah, I actually don't need it. And I'll leave it. So the
Mhm.
longer it takes for me to check out, the lesser I actually spend. Well, your analogy with the iPhone is one of the best ones out there. No one needs the latest and greatest. You know, when I tell parents, well, what's the first phone you buy your child? 3 to 4 generations old. They need a device that makes phone calls, dials 911, it texts, the basics. They don't need the $2,000 latest and greatest. I'm a techie. I bleed tech. I can walk into a tech store and say, want, 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 want. I don't need it. Would I feel, happy, quote unquote, that I had it? Perhaps. But I always look at technology saying, is it going to benefit me, my business? Is it going to expand my knowledge? Or is it just saying,
Mhm.
yeah, I got the latest MacBook. I got the latest Chromebook. No, I don't need it. I have so much tech that works brilliantly well that I don't want to have to contribute to more recycling in the world. So, but now you and I are mature adults. We have to go into the mindset of the younger generation who sees the latest, the greatest, because they're being shown on social media. Their friends are coming to school. And that's why I'm such a big proponent
Mm.
of not having devices in schools. And one of the reasons of the many is because we don't want one kid feeling ostracized because they have a 10-year-old phone. The other kid walked in September because that's when the new iPhones are introduced and they have the latest and greatest and it causes issues. It just, you know what? It's not.
Why don't we go back to the Zach Morrison phone, right? Where it was the big phone, you had to carry on the battery pack. Paul, you give your kid that, they're not yes, that's you can't see this right now, if you're listening to this podcast, but Paul's basically holding up have you seen Saved by the Bell? Zach Morrison's phone is in Paul's hand right now. If you give your kid that, I'm telling you, they're either never going to use the phone again or they're going to make it the coolest thing. People are going to be like, oh, is that the iPhone 25?
Exactly. It's been restructured.
it's, been,
So
it's been
I,
restructured, people, and it's coming back out.
so I used to,
Antenna and all.
because this does work. And when I had a SIM card in it, I used to actually hang out at
Oh,
certain
I love
cafes, and I
that.
would have this on the table, and people
Oh,
would walk by, and they would say, "Can I take a picture of that?" Yeah, knock yourself out. Why? Because it's just, and they'll say, "Do you use it?" Yeah, I can make a phone call with it. You see, this is a need. Now, it's an older need, but it's not a want. No one wants that phone, but it's amazing when you need to
I
dial
kind
nine
of
one
do
one.
now.
Well,
Oh,
it's
I
amazing
actually would
how
like to borrow it just to bring it out in
well
front of my son.
I show students my flip phones because I have two of them, and you know how many kids think it's cool. So I'm saying, you know what? If I'm doing a project and I'm not allowed to travel with my smartphones because tracking and all that, if I need to make a phone call, this does it. Dial 911, this does it. If my daughters want to text me, I can retext. It's harder to text back, but I'll phone them back.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's a device that does what I need. The
Do you still have
want
a
is,
pager?
you know what? I do. I wish I actually had it on me. We would have talked about it earlier.
I love it.
Obviously,
All the old school stuff's coming
it
out.
doesn't obviously work anymore. But I don't know if you remember before Rogers, they were called Cantel, Cantel. I have a Cantel pager. So when we
Oh,
used to get,
I wish I could page you.
but then I'd have to
You
go
have
to
it
a
on your
payphone.
belt buckle.
But then I'd have to go to a
You have to
payphone and call
a
you.
payphone. Okay, everyone, we are
Yeah,
going back in time in this
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Just go
So
with your needs, which are pagers and old school cell phones.
no kidding. So we've got a couple of minutes. I want to send it over to you to wrap it up because we've talked about the tech side, but I think you very brilliantly put together the definition of want versus need and how I think it's not something that our kids will accept, but if we work with them, they'll make better choices and understand as they grow older the wants versus the needs.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. And I think too, as parents, we have to be sturdy in their disappointment isn't our guilt. So if you're struggling with saying no because you're like, oh my gosh, and then they're gonna be upset, and oh my, then it's gonna be exhausting for me because I have to work through their upset emotions. And we are parenting for the future when we decide this is the boundary. You want this, and I get that. So honor it. So
Right.
I would say step number one is first of all, honor and validate that they want it. And honor and validate that when you say no, they are going to push back, and that is their job. And there's no sense you getting up in anger land, even though it will be frustrating. It's easy to get angry at their response. They're allowed to be disappointed, to stomp their feet, as long as they're also being, they're not harming you or themselves.
Right.
They're going and being, disrespectful. They're allowed to be disappointed. So,
Mm.
allowing there to be that space, just like if somebody told you, no, you're not getting that, you'd be disappointed. So honor that they want it, honor the emotion they're experiencing when you say no, and remind them that this is not something they will always understand. Just like when you were a kid, your parents probably said no to certain things, but that ultimately you're standing in as a parent, that you are preparing them for in the world, they're not always going to get what they want, and avoid disappointment. Because if we take away all the disappointment that our kids could experience because we don't like dealing with their disappointment, we are raising entitlement,
Good point.
period.
Right.
Period. Because entitlement is, I'm entitled not to be disappointed. Right? I'm entitled to have that thing. And marketers do a great job at it.
Yeah.
Buy now, pay later, pay never, until 2 years from now when the payment comes, and if you're a day late, watch out. So I think that the honoring, and also setting a budget for your kids, like how much, like if they make a certain amount of money, how much are they allowed to spend?
Right.
So even, right, so if they do have a want, okay, well, can you afford that? Can you afford that want?
Right.
Because there's lots of things I buy that I don't need, but I want it. But now I'm looking logically, can I afford it? Do, am I also do this, and I said this earlier, but I want to say it again. Walk away from it. And I do this with Kai all the time. Walk away from it. And he'll be all upset, but then he'll get doing something else. And sometimes, Paul, he will forget that he even wanted that thing.
Right.
Not always, but then that really shows you, oh, it was just an in the moment. So create space. And you right, and let them move through disappointment, because then they'll learn how to be disappointment. Me being able to move through disappointment as an adult,
Right.
right? Knowing, oh, okay, I can't always get what I want when I want it right away. It's not how it works. And then the other thing I would say is, as much as possible, and this is what I try to do, I do try to limit how much I'm looking at marketing. Even though it pops up a lot, I try to not continually absorb it. And I find, because marketers are so good, I can be so enthralled in one of their commercials or something that pops up on my Instagram. And you know how now it's geared towards you? Like mine would be geared towards, healthy, younger, natural skin products. So then that stuff pops up, Paul. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, Paul, did you see this? This is you don't even need Botox. You just need this honey. And whatever it is, right? And some of it's valuable, but a lot of it's not, and kind of not just sitting there absorbing it all the time. And I know
And I
that can
want,
be difficult with our kids, but to work on that, yes.
yeah,
Help
and I
us,
want
Paul.
parents to be well aware of that, is that the algorithms know you
Mhm.
better than you know yourself. It knows how you engage. I'm doing projects right now on Instagram where I have
Mhm.
3 different accounts working on 3 different devices. And based on how I interact with Instagram, all the ads are consistent in what it thinks I want based on what I'm looking at, liking, and engaging with. It is
Yes.
brilliant. So, as part of the natural progression of or stream of what they are looking at, that ad almost blends in. So now that is hitting their subconscious. And Sarah makes a great point, parents. If they are absorbing it, they're
Mhm.
going to feel this desire that it's a need, but it's technically a want. So when she says the marketers are brilliant, they are brilliant, and that's why you
Mhm.
limit that exposure. That's a great point.
Mhm. Yes. No, and I mean, this is a topic, Paul, I know we could keep going on because it's such an interesting topic because we're really looking at also the human psyche and how
Right,
we wants versus needs. And here's the other thing. We want our brain is wired for pleasure, not pain.
right.
So if we think this will bring me so much pleasure and it will help me avoid pain because if I don't get it, this is going to be painful. We're knowing that about our brain is really important because you can actually decide, okay, am I just doing this because I just want it because I'm trying to avoid the feeling of not having it, which feels painful, and having it feels like I'll be happy and joyful and there'll be pleasure there. So this is really an interesting topic on so many different levels. And that's again going back to marketing. Marketers know your brain works like that you have a pleasure versus pain
Hmm.
brain, comparison brain, an emotional reaction, impulse, FOMO. I mean, we have it all, Paul. So
Right.
knowing these little tricks is super helpful. And again, remembering those healthy boundaries for our kids and for ourselves are essential.
Absolutely. I'll end off with a story because I think
Okay.
this is brilliant
Story time. Love
based on
it.
what you said. This is it. My wife and I are in Costco, and that is a place for impulsive purchasing. You walk in with your needs, you
Yeah,
walk out
you
with
have a
some of your
list.
want. Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
very few people can adhere to that. So, quick story. Walked in, we're walking by the electronic section. My wife walked away from the cart. I looked at this drone. I thought, that's a cool drone. I put it in the cart. We're walking, walking, walking. My wife looks, what's that? I said, oh, it's a drone. It's cool, isn't it? She goes, yeah, it's cool. Didn't ask me, didn't say anything. She takes the drone. It's in a different aisle now, somewhere at Costco, but
yeah.
she takes it out of the cart and we keep walking. And I raised my hands. I said, what are you doing? She said, you don't need that. I was disappointed. I smiled, kept walking. I didn't come home with that drone. There's your story. We all get over it. We all can deal with it, and let's mature. Sarah,
Are you running back to Costco after we're done and grabbing the drone?
no comment
Yeah, no,
because
I love that. Thank you so much, Paul, for sharing.
my wife listens to these podcasts, Sarah. So don't. Okay. So
So the
until
answer
the
is
next
no.
time, parents, thank you for joining us. We have a couple of more lined up in the near future because as we were talking before we started recording, we thought about all these different topics. So we're excited to put them together for you. So until next time, thank you for listening, Sarah.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
And this is what we know.
This is all we know.
This is what we know.
Goodbye.
See you.